The silent hunter of the stars looked peaceful in the darkness of space, but Commander Sarah Chun knew better. She stood on the bridge of the Phantom Strike, watching the enemy ships through her tactical display. 3 massive Zarkonian cruisers moved in formation, their hulls gleaming with alien metal and deadly weapons. "They have no idea we're here," whispered Jung-hoon from his tactical station. The young officer's fingers danced across his controls, tracking the enemy ship's movements. Sarah nodded. The Phantom Strike was humanity's greatest secret, a ship that could become completely invisible. No radar could find them. No sensors could detect them. They were like ghosts in the void of space. "How are our systems, Min-jun?" Sarah asked her chief engineer. Min-jun checked his readings carefully. "All stealth systems running perfectly, Commander. We're completely silent. Even our heat signature is hidden." The Zarkonian Empire controlled half the galaxy. Their ships were enormous and powerful. Each of those 3 cruisers could destroy a human city with one shot. The aliens believed they were the strongest race in the universe. They had conquered dozens of worlds with their massive fleets, but they had never fought humans before. Sarah had studied the Zarkonians for months. They were proud warriors who announced their attacks with honor and ceremony. They fought in straight lines with overwhelming force. They never expected enemies to hide or use tricks. That was going to be their downfall. "Target the lead cruiser's engine core," Sarah ordered. "Jung-hoon, prepare our main cannon." "Target locked, Commander," Jung-hoon replied. His voice was steady, but Sarah could see the tension in his shoulders. This was their first real battle against the mighty Zarkonian fleet. Through the viewscreen, Sarah watched the alien ships continue their patrol. The creatures inside those ships thought they were safe. They believed their superior technology and massive guns made them invincible. They were wrong. "Fire," Sarah commanded. A brilliant beam of energy shot from the Phantom Strike. It crossed the darkness of space in seconds and struck the lead Zarkonian cruiser exactly where Jung-hoon had aimed. The enemy ship's engine core exploded in a massive fireball that lit up the surrounding space. The other 2 Zarkonian ships immediately began spinning and firing wildly in all directions. Their sensors showed the explosion, but they could not find the source of the attack. To them, their companion had simply exploded for nothing. Impossible. Sarah heard one of the alien captains screaming over the radio. "Where are they?" "Scan everything. Find them." But there was nothing to find. The Phantom Strike remained completely invisible. Sarah smiled coldly. "Target the second cruiser." Jung-hoon worked quickly. "Locked on, Commander." "Fire." Another beam of death crossed the void. The second Zarkonian cruiser exploded just like the first. Now only one enemy ship remained, and its crew was panicking. "Run! Run!" the surviving captain shouted to his crew. The last cruiser turned away and tried to escape at maximum speed. Sarah would not let them go. If even one ship escaped, it might warn the rest of the Zarkonian fleet about humanity's invisible ships. "Jung-hoon, can you hit them before they jump to hyperspace?" "Already locked on, Commander," Jung-hoon said with determination. The final shot destroyed the last cruiser just as its hyperdrive was charging. The explosion was even bigger than the first 2, sending debris scattered across space. Suddenly, the area was silent. 3 of the galaxy's most feared warships had been destroyed in less than 5 minutes. The attackers had not even been seen far away on the Zarkonian homeworld. Admiral Zircon received the last distress signal from his patrol ships. The message was short and filled with panic. "Under attack. Cannot see enemy. Ships exploding. Help us. Then nothing. Zircon stared at his communication screen in confusion. 3 heavy cruisers destroyed by an invisible enemy? It was impossible. The Zarkonian Empire had the best sensors in the galaxy. Nothing could hide from their detection systems. Yet his ships were gone. On the Phantom strike, Sarah turned to her crew. "Well done, everyone. Take us back to the rendezvous point. It's time to report our success to Earth Command." Min Jun looked up from his engineering station. "Commander, do you think they'll believe what happened here?" Sarah looked out at the debris field where 3 mighty warships had been destroyed by an enemy they never saw. "They'll have to believe it, Min Jun, because this is just the beginning. The Zarkonian Empire is about to learn that humans fight differently than everyone else." As the Phantom strike disappeared into the darkness, Sarah thought about the war that was coming. The galaxy's mightiest empire had just met an enemy they could not understand. An enemy that struck from the shadows without warning, not an enemy that could not be seen until it was too late. Asterisk. The Phantom Fleet Admiral Zircon stood in the command center of his massive flagship, staring at the holographic display showing the patrol route where his 3 cruisers had vanished. The greatest military mind in the Zarkonian Empire could not understand what had happened. "Sir, we have analyzed the debris field," reported his intelligence officer. "The ships were destroyed by precise energy weapons. The attacks came from multiple angles, but our sensors detected no enemy vessels." Zircon's 4 eyes narrowed with anger. In 200 years of conquest, the Zarkonian Empire had never faced an enemy they could not see. Their technology was superior to every other race they had encountered. "Send Commander Zex with a full battle group," Zircon ordered. 12 ships, our best captains, and every sensor array we have. Whatever destroyed my patrol will not escape." Meanwhile, in Earth's secret military base hidden in an asteroid field, Commander Sarah Chun stood before a holographic conference table. 5 other human captains appeared as blue projections around her. "The first test was successful," Sarah reported. 3 Zarkonian cruisers eliminated with 0 casualties. They never knew what hit them. Captain Seo Yan of the Silent Thunder nodded approvingly. She was one of Earth's most experienced stealth ship commanders. "How did they react?" "Complete panic," Jung-hoon answered from behind Sarah. "They fired randomly into space for 10 minutes after the last ship was destroyed. Their sensors showed nothing." Captain Lee of the Ghost Walker leaned forward. "Intelligence reports show the Zarkonians are sending a response fleet. 12 heavy warships under Commander Zex." Sarah smiled. "Perfect. It's time to show them that one invisible ship was just the beginning." Admiral Chun, Sarah's older sister and commander of Earth's stealth fleet, appeared in the center of the hologram. "All ships are ready. Sarah, you'll coordinate the attack. 6 stealth ships against 12 Zarkonian warships. Make it count." Commander Zex arrived at the patrol site with complete confidence. His flagship destroyer of worlds was twice the size of the ships that had been lost. His fleet carried enough firepower to glass an entire planet. "Spread the fleet in search formation," Zex commanded. "Full sensor sweeps. Whatever technology these cowards are using, we will find them." The 12 Zarkonian ships moved apart, their massive hulls bristling with weapons and sensors. Each ship scanned space with every detection method known to their empire. They were certain they would find their hidden enemies. They were wrong. The 6 human stealth ships moved through the Zarkonian formation like sharks through water. The Phantom Strike, Silent Thunder, Ghost Walker, Nightblade, Shadow Strike, and Void Hunter positioned themselves around their targets. Sarah watched her tactical display as the enemy ships continued their futile search. The Zarkonians were powerful but predictable. They expected enemies to fight with honor, announcing attacks and meeting force with force. Humans had learned to fight smarter. "All ships report ready." As the Yin's voice came through the comm system, Sarah took a deep breath. "Begin coordinated attack. All ships fire on my mark." On the Zarkonian flagship, Commander Zex was studying sensor readings when his weapons officer suddenly screamed. "Energy signatures. Multiple contacts." But it was too late. 6 invisible ships opened fire simultaneously from 6 different directions. The Zarkonian fleet, spread out in their search formation, could not defend each other. Each ship faced its attacker alone. A first volley destroyed 4 Zarkonian ships instantly. Their hulls cracked and exploded as human weapons found weak points in their armor. The remaining 8 ships spun frantically, firing in all directions. Where are they? Zex roared. Find them. Kill them. But the human ships had already moved to new positions. They struck again, and 3 more Zarkonian vessels exploded. The aliens were shooting at empty space, while invisible enemies picked them off one by one. Captain Lee's Ghostwalker destroyed a Zarkonian destroyer with a single shot to its reactor core. Ezioyan's Silent Thunder eliminated 2 ships in rapid succession, moving between them like a deadly phantom. Sarah coordinated the attack perfectly. Each human ship knew exactly where the others were, even though the Zarkonians could see none of them. It was like a carefully planned dance of death. Within minutes, only 3 Zarkonian ships remained. Commander Zex's flagship was damaged and bleeding atmosphere. His crew was in complete panic. Impossible. Zex transmitted on all frequencies. You fight without honor. Face us like warriors. Sarah opened a channel to the Zarkonian commander. Her voice was calm and cold. We fight to win, Commander. Honor doesn't matter when your people are dead. The last 3 ships died quickly. Zex's final transmission spoke of ghost ships that kill from the shadows. Before his flagship exploded in a ball of plasma dot, the human fleet regrouped in empty space. Not a single stealth ship had been damaged. 12 of the galaxy's most powerful warships had been destroyed in less than 20 minutes. Excellent work. Everyone, Sarah broadcast to her fleet, returned to base for debriefing. On the Zarkonian homeworld, Admiral Zircon received the news of his fleet's destruction with growing horror. Commander Zex and 12 heavy warships gone without a trace. The enemy had not even been detected. For the first time in his life, the mighty Admiral Zircon felt fear. An unknown enemy was hunting his fleets, striking without warning and vanishing like smoke. The Zarkonian Empire's greatest strength, their massive warships, meant nothing against an enemy they could not see. He would need to change everything about how his empire fought wars. But first, he needed to find out who these ghost warriors were and where they came from. The hunt for humanity had begun. The Empire Strikes Back Admiral Zircon paced around the war room of his massive command station. The holographic displays showed reports from across the Zarkonian Empire. 19 ships destroyed. No enemy casualties. No visual contact with the attackers. This is madness, growled General Kex, his second in command. Our fleets rule the galaxy. How can invisible cowards destroy our mighty warships? Zircon stopped pacing and stared at the tactical display. Red markers showed where his ships had died. Each attack followed the same pattern. Sudden strikes from multiple directions. Then nothing. Prepare the world breaker, Zircon commanded. The room fell silent. Every Zarkonian officer knew about the world breaker. It was their ultimate weapon, a dreadnought the size of a small moon. The massive ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Sir, General Kex said carefully, the world breaker has never been used in battle. It was built to threaten rebellious planets, not hunt invisible ships. Then we will change its purpose, Zircon replied. Load it with every sensor array in our empire, every detection system we have ever built. If there are invisible enemies in space, the world breaker will find them. Meanwhile, on Earth's secret command base, Admiral Chun studied intelligence reports with growing concern. Surveillance drones had detected massive Zarkonian fleet movements across 3 sectors. They're assembling the largest, Fleet in Galactic History, reported Intelligence Officer Park. Over 200 warships, including their super dreadnought. Sarah Chun looked at the tactical display showing enemy ship positions. The Zarkonian response was overwhelming. Every stealth ship Earth possessed would be outnumbered 30-1. What do we know about this super dreadnought? Sarah asked. The World Breaker, Park answered. Intelligence suggests it's 15 kilometers long and packed with experimental sensors. They're trying to counter our stealth advantage. Admiral Chun stepped forward. Then we don't give them the chance. Sarah, you'll command all 20 stealth ships. Hit their supply lines, communication arrays, and isolated squadrons. Make them chase shadows while you destroy their ability to coordinate. Captain Co. Yeon joined the briefing via hologram. Admiral, fighting a fleet this size will require perfect coordination. One mistake and we lose everything. Sarah nodded grimly. Then we don't make mistakes. The World Breaker emerged from hyperspace like a dark mountain floating in the void. Its hull was covered with sensor dishes, communication arrays, and detection equipment. Admiral Zircon stood on its massive bridge, surrounded by screens showing tactical data from across 3 star systems. Fleet's report ready, his communications officer announced. 237 ships in total, the largest battle fleet in our empire's history. Zircon smiled with satisfaction. Whatever invisible technology their enemies possessed, it could not hide from this level of surveillance. The World Breaker's sensors could detect a single molecule from a light year away. Begin the hunt, he commanded. The human stealth fleet moved through space like a pack of wolves. Sarah coordinated 20 invisible ships across multiple star systems, each one striking at carefully chosen targets. Captain Lee's Ghostwalker hit a supply convoy carrying fuel and ammunition. The Zarkonian escort ships never saw him coming. 6 transport vessels exploded in silent fireballs, denying the enemy fleet crucial resources. Jung-hoon, now commanding his own ship Silent Blade, destroyed a communication relay station. A massive structure collapsed in on itself, leaving an entire sector of the Zarkonian fleet blind and deaf. Captain Minjun's shadow. Hunter eliminated 3 patrol cruisers that were searching for the human fleet. The ships simply vanished from Zarkonian sensors, leaving no trace behind. On the World Breaker, Admiral Zircon watched his carefully planned hunt fall apart. His ships were being picked off across 3 star systems, but his sensors still detected nothing. The invisible enemy seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Sir, we've lost contact with the 5th Fleet, reported his tactical officer. 17 ships, gone without sending a distress signal. The 3rd Fleet reports they're under attack, added another officer. But their sensors show empty space. Zircon slammed his fist on the command console. His massive advantage in numbers meant nothing if he could not find his enemies. The World Breaker raced from system to system, always arriving too late to help. Sarah watched the Zarkonian super dreadnought through her tactical display. The massive ship was powerful enough to destroy her entire fleet if it found them. But it was also slow and predictable. Co. Yeon, take your squadron and hit their mining facilities in Sector 7, Sarah commanded. Make it look like a major assault. Understood, Co. Yeon replied, drawing the big fish away from the real target, while the World Breaker rushed to defend the mining facilities. Sarah led the main human force against the Zarkonian command ships. 12 stealth vessels surrounded the enemy fleet commanders. While they were separated from their escort, the attack was devastation. Command ships exploded one after another as invisible enemies struck from all sides. Within minutes, the entire Zarkonian command structure was shattered. Admiral Zircon arrived at the mining facilities to find them untouched. His sensors detected no enemy ships, no attacks, nothing. But across the galaxy, his fleet commanders were dead, and his coordination was broken. Sir, his communications officer said with a shaking voice. "We're receiving scattered reports from surviving ships. The entire command structure is ... gone." Zircon stared at the tactical display as red markers showed the destruction of his fleet. Dozens of ships destroyed, his best commanders dead, and he still had not seen a single enemy vessel. For the first time in his career, Admiral Zircon wondered if the Zarkonian Empire could win this war. His enemies fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They struck from darkness and vanished like ghosts, but he still had the World Breaker and over 100 ships. If he could force the invisible enemies into one decisive battle, his superior firepower could still win. He just needed to find them first. Sarah regrouped her fleet in the shadow of a dead planet. The stealth ships had performed perfectly, but she knew the real test was coming. The Zarkonians would eventually figure out a way to force a direct confrontation. "All ships report minimal damage," Jung-hoon announced from the silent blade. "But long-range sensors show the world. Breaker is adapting its search patterns." "They're learning," Sarah agreed. "Which means our next move needs to be perfect." The galaxy's greatest naval battle was about to begin. Invisible ships against the mightiest dreadnought ever built. The outcome would decide the fate of both empires. Asterisk. The hunters become hunted. Admiral Zircon stood alone in his private chamber aboard the World Breaker, studying holographic battle reports. His empire had lost over 60 ships to an enemy that remained completely invisible. Traditional tactics were useless against these ghost warriors, but Zircon had not conquered half the galaxy by using traditional tactics alone. Change of strategy, he announced to his remaining fleet commanders via secure channel. "We will no longer hunt the invisible ships. Instead, we will make them come to us." General Kex frowned at the tactical display. "Sir, how do we force an invisible enemy to attack?" "Simple," Zircon replied with a cold smile. "We give them a target they cannot ignore." The Admiral ordered his remaining ships to form a seemingly vulnerable convoy near the Nexus station, a critical fuel depot that supplied the entire sector. He placed his weakest ships in front, making them look like easy targets. Meanwhile, the World Breaker waited in a nearby nebula, its massive sensor array scanning for the slightest disturbance. "When they attack the convoy," Zircon explained, "they will have to reveal their position to fire. That moment of visibility is all we need." On Earth's hidden command base, Sarah Chun reviewed intelligence reports about the Zarkonian convoy. Long-range scouts confirmed it was a supply mission carrying fuel to their remaining fleets. "It's too convenient," Captain Seo Young warned during their strategy meeting. "Weak escort, predictable route, valuable cargo. It feels like a trap." Jung-hoon nodded from his position at the tactical display. "Our sensors detect unusual energy readings from the nearby nebula. Something large is hiding there." Sarah studied the data carefully. She knew Seo Yan was right, but Earth's stealth fleet needed to prevent those supplies from reaching the enemy. If the Zarkonian ships refueled, they could continue hunting human colonies for months. "It is a trap," Sarah agreed. "But we're going to spring it anyway. The World Breaker is too dangerous to leave operational. If we can destroy it, the Zarkonian Empire will collapse." Captain Lee shook his head. "Sarah, that ship has enough firepower to level a continent. Even with all 20 stealth ships, we might not be able to break through its defenses. Then we make sure it can't use that firepower," Sarah replied. "Min-jung, can your engineering team prepare special charges for the reactor cores?" Min-jung, now commanding the Shadow Hunter, checked his technical readouts. "Quantum destabilizers?" "Yes, but we'll need to get very close to their hull. Close enough for their sensors to detect us." Sarah turned to her assembled commanders. "Here's the plan. Captain Lee will make the initial attack on the convoy with a skeleton crew. His ship will take damage and become partially visible, giving the Zarkonians their target. Lee straightened in his chair. A suicide mission? No, Sarah said firmly. A distraction. While they focus on your ship, the other 19 vessels will surround the World Breaker. We'll hit them with everything we have. The trap was set. Captain Lee's Ghost Walker approached the Zarkonian convoy alone, targeting the lead transport ship. His quantum torpedoes struck the fuel carrier, creating a massive explosion that lit up the surrounding space. Immediately, the World Breaker emerged from the nebula like an angry giant. Its sensors locked onto Lee's position as his stealth systems flickered from battle damage. Found you, Admiral Zircon shouted triumphantly. All weapons, target that position. Pour everything we have into those coordinates. The massive dreadnought opened fire with dozens of particle beam cannons. Space around Lee's ship erupted in deadly energy. The Ghost Walker took heavy hits, its hull cracking and systems failing. I'm hit bad, Lee reported over the comm. Stealth generators are down to 30%. They can see me. But this was exactly what Sarah had planned. While Zircon focused all his attention and firepower on the one visible ship, 19 invisible vessels surrounded his dreadnought from all sides. All ships in position. Sujan reported quietly. Sarah watched the tactical display as the World Breaker continued hammering Lee's crippled ship. The Zarkonian crew thought they had finally caught their invisible enemies. They had no idea they were surrounded. Execute coordinated strike, Sarah commanded. All ships, fire everything. 19 stealth ships opened fire simultaneously from every direction. The World Breaker's shields, designed to repel attacks from one direction, could not handle the concentrated assault from all sides. Quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and destabilizer charges struck the massive hull. Secondary explosions rippled across the dreadnought's surface as critical systems overloaded. Admiral Zircon felt his flagship shake under the devastating attack. Alarms blared throughout the bridge as damage reports flooded in. Impossible. He screamed. Where are they coming from? How many ships are there? His tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. Sir, I'm reading weapons fire from 19 different positions, but sensors still show only the damaged ship. The World Breaker's shields collapsed under the sustained bombardment. Jung-hoon's silent blade punched through the weakened defenses and planted quantum charges directly on the dreadnought's main reactor. Charges planted, Jung-hoon reported. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Sarah gave the order. All ships, maximum speed. Get clear of the blast radius. The 20 human vessels, including Lee's badly damaged Ghost Walker, raced away from the dying dreadnought. Behind them, the quantum charges reached critical mass. Admiral Zircon realized his doom in the final seconds. His ultimate weapon, the pride of the Zarkonian Empire, was about to become his tomb. Around him, his crew ran in panic as the ship's structure began to collapse. You have defeated the mighty Zarkonian Empire, he transmitted on all frequencies. But others will come. Others will ... double quotes. The World Breaker exploded in a flash of light visible across 3 star systems. The massive dreadnought, capable of destroying planets, was reduced to scattered debris in seconds. The remaining Zarkonian escort ships, witnessing the destruction of their empire's greatest weapon, broke formation and fled in all directions. Their will to fight died with their admiral. Sarah watched the expanding shockwave from the explosion and felt no satisfaction in victory. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Lee, what's your status? She asked. We'll leave, Lee replied weakly. But my ship needs major repairs before our next mission. Take her home, Sarah ordered. We all need time to prepare for what comes next. The galaxy had seen the impossible. The mightiest dreadnought ever built had been destroyed by invisible enemies. Word would spread quickly that the feared Zarkonian Empire had been broken by an unknown force. But Sarah knew that, Other empires would learn from Zarkonian mistakes. A next enemy would be ready for invisible ships. Humanity's advantage would not last forever. Asterisk. The New Order news of the World Breaker's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 conquered worlds, alien species watched the holographic broadcasts in amazement. The mighty Zarkonian Empire, which had ruled through fear for centuries, had been shattered by an invisible enemy. Commander Sarah Chun stood in Earth's main command center, watching reports flood in from across former Zarkonian space. Rebellions had erupted on dozens of worlds. Entire sectors were declaring independence. The Empire was collapsing faster than anyone had imagined. Confirmation from Sector 12 reported. Intelligence Officer Park. The Zarkonian Third Fleet has surrendered to local resistance forces. That's the last of their major battle groups. Admiral Chun, Sarah's sister, smiled with satisfaction. 6 months ago, the Zarkonian Empire controlled half the galaxy. Today, they barely hold their homeworld. But Sarah felt no joy in their victory. She studied the tactical displays showing movement in the Outer Rim territories. New threats were emerging. Admiral, she said carefully, long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet buildups in the Kefter and Vorthik territories. Our success against the Zarkonians has gotten their attention. Captain C.O. Yan, recently promoted to Admiral, joined the briefing via hologram. Intelligence suggests they're studying our tactics. Both empires are investing heavily in new sensor technology. Jung Hoon, now commanding his own task force, appeared on another display. My scouts report that Kefter have developed quantum resonance scanners. They claim it can detect stealth fields. Sarah nodded grimly. She had always known this moment would come. Humanity's advantage lay in fighting enemies who didn't understand their capabilities. Once other empires learned to adapt, the invisible ships would become vulnerable. How many stealth vessels do we have operational? Sarah asked. 43 ships across 7 fleets, Admiral Chun replied. Production is increasing, but we're still outnumbered 100 to 1 by potential enemies. Meanwhile, in the ruins of the former Zarkonian capital, Emperor Vex of the Kefter Empire studied holographic recordings of the World Breaker's destruction. His military advisors surrounded him, analyzing every second of the battle. Asterisk. Notice how the weapon's fire comes from multiple positions simultaneously, pointed out General Vex. This suggests a coordinated fleet, not individual raiders. Vex nodded thoughtfully. How many ships do you estimate? At least 20 vessels, possibly more, Vex replied. But our new quantum scanners should be able to detect them regardless of their stealth technology. Then we test this theory. Vex decided. Prepare a fleet. It's time to hunt these ghost warriors. Back on Earth, Sarah received orders that filled her with both pride and worry. She was being promoted to Admiral and given command of humanity's entire stealth fleet. The responsibility was enormous. The galaxy knows we exist now, Admiral Chun explained during the promotion ceremony. We can no longer rely on surprise alone. From now on, we need strategy, coordination, and constant innovation. Sarah accepted her new rank with mixed feelings. Leading one ship had been challenging enough. Now she commanded 43 vessels and thousands of lives. Captain Minjun approached her after the ceremony. Admiral, I have preliminary designs for the next generation of stealth ships. Improved armor, better weapons, and enhanced stealth systems. How long until they're ready? Sarah asked. 2 years minimum, Mingjun replied. But the current fleet needs immediate upgrades to counter the new sensor technologies. Sarah walked to the observation deck overlooking Earth's shipyards. Dozens of new vessels were under construction, their hulls gleaming with experimental armor and advanced weapons. Humanity was preparing for the next phase of galactic war. Incoming. Priority signal, announced the communication officer. Admiral Seo Yan from the Outer Rim. Seo Yan's image appeared with urgent news. Sarah, we have a problem. Kefter forces are moving toward the former Zarkonian territories. Intelligence estimates 60 heavy cruisers and their new flagship Reality Piercer. Sensor capabilities? Sarah asked. Unknown, but they're confident enough to challenge us directly, Seo Yan replied. This isn't a hunting mission. They're looking for a fight. Sarah studied the tactical information. The Kefter Empire was testing humanity's strength. If they won, other empires would follow their example. If they lost, it would buy humanity time to strengthen their position. Prepare the first and third fleets, Sarah ordered. We're going to show the galaxy that destroying the Zarkonians wasn't luck. As preparation began for the next battle, Sarah reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been hiding in the shadows, unknown to the galaxy's major powers. Now they were recognized as a significant force, both feared and respected. But recognition brought new challenges. The galaxy's remaining empires were adapting, developing countermeasures, and preparing for war. The age of easy victories against unprepared enemies was ending. Sarah stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Phantom Admiral, watching her fleet prepare for departure. 43 stealth ships represented humanity's greatest military achievement, but they faced enemies who now knew what to expect. Admiral Jung-hoon reported from his position. All fleets report ready for departure. Sarah looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, alien empires were planning humanity's destruction. They had seen what invisible ships could do to the mighty Zarkonian Empire, and they were determined not to make the same mistakes. Take us out, Sarah commanded. It's time to remind the galaxy why humans are dangerous. As the stealth fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Sarah considered the future. The galaxy was changing rapidly. Former Zarkonian worlds were forming new alliances, many with Earth as their protector. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows, but standing as a galactic power. The invisible ships had proven that humans fought differently than other species. They didn't rely on massive fleets or overwhelming firepower. They used intelligence, stealth, and precise strikes to defeat supposedly superior enemies. Admiral, the communications officer announced, we're receiving diplomatic requests from 17 different worlds. They want to discuss trade agreements and defense pacts. Sarah smiled slightly. Fear and respect often led to cooperation. The same invisible ships that had terrified the Zarkonians were now protecting smaller civilizations from other threats. But she knew the real test was still coming. The Kefter and Vorthik empires were powerful, experienced, and now forewarned. The next battles would determine whether humanity could maintain its position among the galaxy's great powers. The Phantom Admiral and its escort fleet moved through hyperspace toward their next battle. Behind them, Earth's shipyards continued building new vessels, preparing for a war that would decide the fate of human civilization. Sarah had started as a commander, testing experimental technology against unprepared enemies. Now she was an admiral leading humanity's expansion into a hostile galaxy. The invisible ships had given her people a chance to prove themselves. What they did with that chance would determine whether humans joined the ranks of galactic empires or became another conquered species in someone else's history. The stars awaited humanity's answer. Asterisk.